We are going to go ahead and jump in. Welcome, everyone. I know we might have a few more people popping on here in the first couple of minutes, but I do want to make sure we get through our presentation and have time to answer a few questions. My name is Jessica Mellema. I lead corporate marketing communications for Sequential. And if you don't already work with us or have worked with us in the past, Sequential is a full-service web design and digital marketing agency with offices in Cedar Falls and Des Moines, Iowa, Chicago, Denver, and Tampa. We also have remote team members in more than 25 states. Our team really focuses on helping clients build customer experiences to grow traffic, convert leads, and track their entire marketing funnel all in one place. One of our core values is we get better every day. And so we strive to get better for ourselves, for our teammates, for our clients. And in that spirit of being lifelong learners, we really wanted to share our expertise and discovery with all of you, with our existing clients, with clients we've never met yet, with our teammates, with our peers, with colleagues in the digital field. So we're excited to share with you today. Whether you're already a partner of ours or we've not met yet, we hope you learned something today, and we would love to continue the conversation beyond this webinar. So there'll be Q&A opportunities and outreach opportunities as well. Today, you're going to hear from 4 subject matter experts on our digital marketing team. They're going to give you a pretty quick rundown of some top trends that we believe will drive digital marketing success across several verticals this year. You'll hear first from Taylor Fisher, an SEO team lead, then Pat Higelmeyer, our director of paid media. Dustin O'Leary is our group director of digital performance, which includes Sequential's data and analytics team, and Kip Russell, our director of social media marketing. A more complete description of the trends we're just going to touch on briefly today appears in a full guide that we've published, our 2022 Digital Marketing Trends Guide, and that will be sent out to all of you in a follow-up email tomorrow. So you'll get a recording of today's webinar along with that full guide with a lot more depth. I also wanted to just call out that this is the first in the series of webinars we're kicking off. If you want to learn about any of these topics in more depth, you're going to have opportunities to do that in the coming months. Be sure to register for the upcoming events as you see them become available. After today, we'll have you on an email list for invitations to future events. And that next one is coming up in May. We'll focus specifically on social media. So you'll get a little taste of some social trends today, but then next month you'd have an opportunity to dig in a little further. Just a couple of logistics here. We don't have a live chat feature open today. We are monitoring the Q&A. So if you have questions, you can submit them along the way as our presenters are speaking, and then we'll be monitoring that and hopefully have time to get to a few of those live. If we don't get to them live, we will try to reach out to you individually to help answer those questions following the webinar. You will also see a raise hand feature enabled. I won't be monitoring that. I'm just going to focus on that Q&A box. So if you do have something that you need or that you want to submit, please do it through the Q&A. Last reminder. Oh, yeah. Just going to have a reminder for our panelists, just so we can focus on each speaker individually. As we go through, our panelists will turn their cameras off when it's not their turn to speak, and then we'll all come back at the end for the Q&A section. We will jump right in with Taylor and SEO.
Thank you, Jessica. So Google Passage Indexing is an upcoming feature. It was announced at the end of 2021. It's really just, in my opinion, the natural evolution of smart results. And it's really reflective of Google's continued desire to understand natural human language and the way that we speak in a more conversational tone. It's really important to take away from this, though, that this is not the same as a featured snippet, although it does look similar. A featured snippet, most people have come into contact with, is when you see a piece of the page in text at the top of search results. That happens when that page has overall topic relevance and it's also ranking in the first position. Passage indexing will not consider the page's overall relevance or rank at all, just the relevance of the passage itself to the search query. So you could have passages ranking for terms that they don't typically perform well for on a page level. Google's hope in doing this is really just to provide more specific answers to their searchers. So really, us as SEO strategists, We've always known that optimized long-form content can answer more than one question, and passage indexing is really just Google's way of acknowledging that. So as you'll see actually on the next slide here, this is a great example, and this is what Google intends to do. So you'll see that the passage on the right is more relevant to the specific question being answered. It's more concise, it's more conversational, and it gets to the point a lot faster than the example on the left, which is what the current result would be. But like Discover, what's interesting here is that this is another automated feature. So there's not going to be a specific schema markup we can implement for this, which means you won't have the power to dictate or cherry pick which passages you want included for what specific queries. The impact here then is really going to be seen a lot more on long form content types, so guides, lists, and things that have a lot of structure behind them. If you want to position your website for the shift that's going to take place and make it more likely you'll be eligible for this, you're really going to want to make sure that you're marrying your content strategy together with your SEO strategy and that those initiatives are working in tandem. I would say as we continue to see increases though in both mobile search and voice search, and really just the increase in those smart devices within homes, Google will likely continue to roll out more and more of these automated features, and you'll see more of these appearing in the organic search space. And then with that, I will happily pass it over to Pat, who will speak to you more about automation and paid media.
Thanks, Taylor. So as Taylor pointed out, automated tools are definitely not unique to SEO. There's definitely play a large role in paid media as well, but even today, it's still kind of a four-letter word in digital marketing, just because despite the fact that there's been a lot of automation within the field for at least 6 years, a lot of people still have kind of this untrustworthy association with automation. A lot of this kind of stems from older school advertisers like myself, people like me who've relied on manual adjustments for a lot of their career. And then advertisers who just don't want to give too much control to the platforms that they utilize. That being said, the fact is many platforms, thinking particularly of Google, a lot of them are leaning these days into automation so much and basing a lot of their systems around machine learning and AI. Data is being aggregated a lot more broadly, targeting options are becoming less granular, and even the newer best practices are often rewarded just for using automation in terms of being rewarded with stronger relevancy scores, stronger quality scores, things like that, just for having their campaigns rely on this broad targeting and automated tools. But I think if most advertisers are being honest, a lot of tests and benchmarks that we see these days are showing that automation at worst is at least worth testing in your strategies. And at best, we are seeing a lot of consistency in the fact that they tend to outperform a lot of manual efforts these days. With that said, on the other side of that same coin, manual management of assets still has a really big place in execution of strategies, particularly within small markets. I think if you're a skilled marketer, you can often be a lot more effective than automated tools in these cases, just because small markets or small budgets tend to not drive as much data within a short period of time. And that's the sort of thing that really helps automated tools to succeed. So that would be maybe my one piece of advice for this short chat, is to never default to one strategy or another. I think you should always be employing a pretty good mix of testing between not just manual versus automated, but even within the automated space, taking a look at all the different automated tools that you have at your disposal and seeing which one of those works best for you. And on that note, I think the best automated strategy for you may also be informed by the kind of attribution model that you're using. And even within the space of attribution models, and I think this larger idea of multi-touch attribution, this is something that's been a really challenging and unclear topic since I started in the field almost 10 years ago. I think even looking back just a few years, conventional wisdom would have said that last click attribution pretty much across the board, no matter what channel we're talking about, would paint the clearest picture of which keywords or assets were the biggest contributor to conversions, with the idea being that the asset that got the user across the finish line was the most valuable. But these days, there are a number of different attribution solutions that are generally considered to be more meaningful, just because they can paint a bigger, more holistic picture of the impact of the assets throughout a user's conversion path, and not only the last thing that got them across the finish line. So if we look at, for example, Google Ads specifically, one of the more common attribution models within that platform these days is called data-driven attribution, which can help show which keywords were involved in a user's conversion path from start to finish. So meaning that we're not only giving credit to the very last search that they performed before converting on something on your site, but it's also looking at the searches that were happening in the very beginning, as well as the searches that were happening kind of in the middle while people were maybe gathering more research and getting more informed about your products and brands, and then eventually converting. Looking at other platforms like Google Analytics, there's also the ability to implement impression level view through data, which is also really, really helpful in just painting how effective things like display ads can be, because they will not only, by implementing this, you're not only looking at how helpful an ad was that was clicked on, but it also shows where ads were viewed throughout that path and gives an idea of how effective ads were at keeping users engaged throughout the entire funnel. So with the proper attribution model in place, I think something else that we ought to talk about that's just as important, if not more important, is the idea of tying your first party data back to what you're doing with your efforts, because ultimately paid media in general, all digital marketing is only as valuable as what we're giving to you directly. And so what I mean by that is we don't necessarily want to only rely on the conversions that we're capturing within our engines like Google Ads, because we know that there's a lot of bot traffic that comes in, fraudulent clicks, bots that are filling out forms that obviously aren't going to be relevant to you. And so what we want to do ideally is either by using your first party data through your CRMs or utilizing like a UTM or Gclid, those sorts of things, is tie back your validated qualified leads to the campaigns that we're running within our engines and make sure that we're actually getting strong insight into what campaign actually drove meaningful results for you. And so by doing that, obviously our efforts become more efficient, and we're making sure that we're focusing things and optimizing our efforts toward the data that is most valuable to you. And so on that topic, the idea of data measurement and attribution and how we're kind of gathering things, I'll pass it over to Dustin.
Thanks, Pat. Yeah, so from a data and analytics standpoint, I mean, one of the trends that we see at Spinutech that has been happening and is continuing to happen is the focus on overall just data maturity. And that's both like on the agency side, but also for organizations and clients that we work with is as well. And really one of the main reasons for just the increased focus on data maturity is just due to the fact of the ever-growing and increasing amount of data that's coming in for clients. I always like to look at the Domo annual report that they put together that shows the number of Facebook post views or Google searches that happen every minute of the day. I think there's almost 6 million Google searches that happen every minute of the day. There's close to $300,000 in revenue that's spent on Amazon every minute of the day. So just seeing some of those like staggering numbers from some of the channels that we work with in here at Spinutech is just showing that the amount of data that's coming in is increasing. And as noted on the slide, that amount of data that we just see overall within our global environment is going to double even just within the next 3 years. So what does that mean for marketers, data individuals, or just organizations as a whole? Really, the key first is making sure that the tagging, the tracking, the processes, the structure is in place to make sure that we can capture and gather all of that data that's coming in from these various channels. At Spinutech, we use a backend tool called Funnel that really helps us connect to Google Analytics, Facebook, LinkedIn, kind of any channel that's out there. We connect through native APIs to bring that data in, allows us to connect in real time to these platforms and be able to pull that data into either reporting structures or dashboards that we build on our side for our clients. But when you think about data maturity, dashboards and reporting, really that's almost kind of table stakes nowadays, and really it's just the tip of the iceberg of what organizations need to do to be able to win with data. And that's what we see, in clients that we work with and that we really help push on as well, as the clients that are digging deeper into the data and going beyond just that surface level of the data points or the tables and charts that are there. And even for our team, it's the clients and the agencies that are asking more of those deeper questions of why did X happen? What if we changed Y? What will happen as a result in the future? again, agencies and clients that are asking some of those deeper questions and getting deeper into the analytics and data that's there are doing some great things, and then really able to get ahead of their competition in the market by really leaning on that data. And for SpinUtech, I mean, some of the things that we've been working on recently, and again, we're in the same boat where, we're working on our data maturity as an organization as well. And over the past, 2 years, we've really beefed up our data and analytics team, brought on, data science folks that can really help us mature from a data perspective. And, some of the things that we've worked on recently is listed at the bottom of this screen here. And one of them is, forecasting and predicting. We always ask ourselves, like, it's great to always look at, the past 30 days or the past 6 months of performance, but it's even better to look ahead into the future and say, what's going to happen in the next 30 days or the next 3 or 6 months, and what can we do to help impact those trends that we're seeing. We've been able to do that for some clients and seen some really good results and insights from that. Another important one for our team is media and channel mix analysis. I'm sure everyone on this call knows, every channel, every tactic that we deploy from a digital marketing perspective, all those perform very differently from one another. So we need to make sure that, ourselves, our clients are open and to making sure that those budgets are fluid across those various channels and tactics. So when we analyze the performance from those different channels and see that, maybe paid social came ahead of paid search on a consistent basis from, a certain KPI, we need to be able to switch funds and spend over to paid social to make sure that we're getting the best bang for our buck from an overall performance standpoint. And the last one they have listed on here is anomaly learning and automation. And anomaly learning, it's been more of an internal thing that we developed for our internal teams, but we set up using tools like Python and R, processes where, again, bringing that data in through funnel from our various platforms in a real-time basis. We set up alerts for our internal teams if, performance or a KPI goes, below or even above an average for what we're used to seeing for some of our campaigns or channels. Our team gets alerted so they can quickly go into those platforms and identify the opportunity that exists. So that's been super important and impactful for our team. Another one that, again, as you look at data maturity, that I think is really important is just around automation. And again, we've been focusing on this internally for our team, but I think for anyone that's on the call too, a good gut check for yourself is, if you or your team are constantly on a weekly, monthly basis going to certain data sources, exporting reports, pulling them into Excel, manipulating the data, building your own charts and graphs. If you're constantly doing that on, a manual basis on a regular cadence, know that there are ways to automate that. And then again, that's what our team has been focusing on with our internal strategy teams as well, of just making sure that we can automate as much of that kind of data processing as possible. So our team can have an opportunity to really be quicker at extracting and acting on those insights that we're able to get from the data. So again, for just data and analytics, one of the trends that we continue to see as a big focus is the data maturity. And again, the clients that we see, and even for ourselves, the ones that are winning out there are really pushing on this path. So with that, I'll push it over to Kit.
Thanks, Dustin. Yep. A lot has happened in social media in the last 2 years. And I think one of the biggest things it's hard to ignore, it's in all the headlines, is that TikTok has really taken over the social media landscape. And for a lot of our clients, we've been preaching or talking about launching their TikTok for the last 2 years. It's really the platform. As you get in early, all the upside is getting in early, right? There's not as many advertisers, and an organic algorithm is on fire. So a couple of things to really pay attention to here is it's not really just for young kids anymore. It has that scale, right? It's got 120 million active users, which is the same size as Instagram. So you have the audience there. In addition to that, and I think even today they said that it's taken over Snapchat and Pinterest in terms of ad revenue. So that, again, is impacting the market space. And then people here spend about 52 minutes per day consuming TikTok. So a lot of time watching videos. And that has really changed the landscape completely. In fact, it's impacted Facebook and Instagram, the major players, because what they realized with TikTok is, one, speed of news feed. The full frame video goes really fast, so people tend to move on really quickly, which is similar to stories. But also that most people are in social media what we call lurkers, right? They just consume content. They don't share, comment, or even make lots of social media posts, they really are there for entertainment or education. And the news feed is showing you consistent videos around your interests. So it's very addictive. This is about double the watch time of anything on Facebook and Instagram. So it's really changed the landscape. And for a lot of our clients, we're letting them know that this needs to be a place that you're either launching this year, or if you've launched it, that we're firming up our strategies. Some of the challenges there are just creative, having to make that video consistent vertical video. And we have lots of opportunities in in-house creative that can help with that. But one of those vertical videos now can also fuel multiple different placements. So a lot of the channels to really pivot and combat the growth of TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram specifically have launched things like Reels. So right now in Instagram and in Facebook, Reels is actually the primary place you want to be creating content and sharing those vertical videos, because they want Reels to be successful to help counteract TikTok. And you're seeing those types of videos go viral. And actually, it's the first time in a long time on these channels, you're getting huge organic growth, almost like the early days of Instagram in 2014 or the early days of Facebook 2011. So not only if you're making vertical video, you should be sharing those on all the other channels. So YouTube Shorts now has a vertical video, 60-second and under short form platform. Pinterest has idea pins, and they're doing incredibly well. And then, of course, you have Facebook and Instagram Reels. Facebook Reels doing really well because it has the scale. It's still the largest social network. So Reels and video consumption do well on Facebook as well. And those types of organic posts are doing super well in the newsfeed. In addition to that vertical video, you can also place it in just your regular Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook feeds. But know that that's really becoming the primary way to create, making those TikTok, those more authentic, lower production budget. So you can actually get a lot more out of your production dollars if you're creating that really phone shot video that's really authentic and gives you a different way to talk to your audience. So happy to answer any other questions as we get to the question section about TikTok and creating there. But this is the year. If you haven't, you should be getting ready to launch your TikTok strategies. With that, and just talking about lurkers and the way in post iOS 14 and post COVID, as Facebook and Instagram and all these channels are getting more competitive, and COVID really exposed that digital is primary to building brand, not only just conversion and lower funnel stuff. You know, social media is a primary place you actually can be for discovery, getting a video out in front of the audience and discovering your brand for the first time. So sequential messaging has been around for a while, but is now becoming really the primary way and strategy that we're recommending to our clients. And how that works is you essentially can tell a story using data and move people through the funnel. So if you think about targeting broad, really step one here, those broader, really well-targeted audiences with video to educate people. And let's say you get somebody to watch 30 seconds of a video that you're running in this upper funnel, that's showing the intent. If they watch 30 seconds of a video that you're putting out on social media, they watch that 30 seconds, we can then look in the back end and build an audience of anyone who's watched your branded video for any amount of time, really, but really 50% of the way or 100% of the way. We build those warm audiences and then start to serve them more prospecting or lead gen focused offers. And because of iOS 14, which is Apple's prompt, where we can't see users now when they leave social networks, that you need to be creating in-app data signals because you can't see as much data when people leave those apps. So in-app, in-app lead forms, messenger ads, video ads particularly are really important and crucial to your strategies and having that evergreen platform. In fact, if you're posting organically, a lot of this should tie into that upper funnel, and then you're moving people through sequentially. And we have another slide that really shows how this works mechanically. So often what we'll do is have a percentage of your budget focus on brand building, which is really important in social. Typically video views targeted to broad, highly targeted audiences. So again, lookalikes and interest and all that good stuff that we use there with first party data. And then as we serve that more branded message, it could be a blog or other types of vehicles too. They watch 100% of that video. We then start to move those more warmed up audiences, people who've been exposed to the brand one or two times. We move them into more of an ask. Maybe it's collecting an email, maybe it's getting them to your site to take an action or an in-app lead form. So now that we know we're getting that next layer of intent, we then ask for that more lower funnel remarketing, or fill out a form or schedule an appointment or your e-com remarketing stuff there. So this is really the strategy that's going to help you win post iOS 14, and it's really the beauty of digital is anytime you're building that brand, we don't lose any of that data, right? We can in fact build really warm audiences. So if you think of this traditionally, if somebody's watched your 30-second TV spot, you would love to then send them a direct mail or send them an email, knowing that they've consumed your brand, that you're top of mind, that we want to send them something right away. So this is a strategy that we've pretty much rolled out with most of our clients. And typically that video view remarketing audience is our top performer no matter what we do. So just want to share that tidbit, and then hopefully that educates you on really how the landscape has shifted in the last 2 years with iOS 14 and COVID. And with that, we'll move on to questions.
Thanks, Kip. A couple of questions have come in. I have this first one here is for Taylor on SEO. Is there anything that you can do besides formatting to increase the chances of your content appearing in a passage index?
Yes, absolutely. I would highly recommend working with a team that has a very strong understanding of the technical implementation aspect of SEO. Even though there's no specific markup for passage indexing, the other markups that exist today will definitely be useful here. And really, it's just essentially anything you can do to make it easier for Google to understand and categorize your content. And the more efficiently you're able to get your content indexed, the more likely it is that you will have passages appearing in search. Especially because a lot of CMSs today have some automated features where when you publish content, for instance, they'll automatically do your titles and meta for you. But with updates like this, it's really important to do that manual work and optimize the keywords and the phrases that you're using during that implementation process.
Thank you, Taylor. Another question came in around Nextdoor, the platform Nextdoor, and whether SpinuTech has any data or info, or have we used that with our clients. I can give just a quick answer on that one, Chadwick. We don't necessarily do it right now for any of our clients, but we do have some team members who have experience and have done it in the past. So if there is something specific you'd like to talk about, I would absolutely encourage you to use the webinar@spinutech.com email address and send us a question, and we can connect you with the folks on our team who have used it, but don't have any current clients and really a story to tell you on that front. The next question I have is from Abby. Want to know from Kip. She said she's dabbling in TikTok and Reels for her B2B business, and wanted to know if you have any tips on getting like CEOs and colleagues and coworkers on board to participate.
Coworkers to participate in making content, or actually targeting CEOs and their influencers? Just want to make sure I understand the question.
I'll watch to see if Abby clarifies.
If I can just answer high level, if you're thinking about getting CEOs and coworkers to participate in making TikTok, I think backing it in and creating that strategy and what's the role of TikTok is super important, and how you can use it organically to reach your target audience. Because of the virality, I mean, you can have 0 followers and still reach 1 million people. Right now, the ads are super underpriced. Think of Facebook, 2013, Instagram, 2017, where your CPMs are incredibly cheap and you can reach that C-suite if you're looking to target those people specifically. And I think with your content strategy on TikTok, either way, you want to be thinking of what provides value, what pain points are you solving for them, and then reverse engineer sort of a messaging strategy that would provide value to those CEOs or coworkers. If you're talking about including them within your content, like your coworkers and CEOs, I think if they're charismatic and it makes sense and they're comfortable and you can create a vehicle for them, it's a great way, depending on your business, to bring that authentic vibe and to really educate and share your expertise. TikTok's an incredible platform to become thought leaders and talk to that B2B audience. It's a great platform. And also LinkedIn has that, just touching base, LinkedIn is on fire too in terms of organic. So really having video strategies there can work well.
Thanks, Kip. I saw a couple other questions that we unfortunately just don't have time to get to, but they were around some deeper dive on the automated bid strategies for paid media, as well as a question around GA4, Google Analytics advancement, and just to generally kind of tease what's coming up. As I mentioned, and if we want to go to the next slide, our next webinar in this series is going to focus deep dive in social, but then we will also be queuing up once a month deeper dives. So we will definitely have more time dedicated to speaking to those paid media strategies. We'll also have time to go deeper into some data and analytics strategies. So just watch for our announcements on social or those invitations to come via email. Wanted to just give a quick plug for the one coming up here next month. Kip will be joined by 2 team leads on his social team. One, Maggie Bozen, she leads our paid social media group. And then we have a separate team lead, Faye Hahn, who works specifically on organic and the strategies and the creative specifically for organic social. So the 3 of them will be presenting in about a month, 6 weeks from now. And in the meantime, if you have other questions, please use the email address shown here to reach out. As I mentioned at the top, we will send a recording of the webinar out to you so you can replay it or share it with colleagues. And we'll also send the full trends guide that actually hits on more trends in each of these focus areas. I thank you all for joining us today. And if you need anything, reach me at this address. Thank you.